Hey guys, in this video, me and Marla are going to be discussing what's beyond the autism levels. There's a lot of information out there and some of it is useless, outdated, and actually, frankly, some of it's missing. Hey guys, welcome back to the Aspie World. My name is Dan and this is Marla, a service dog for autism. She's just a pup, so I thought I'd welcome her to the channel so you guys can see what she's like, and she may just be goofing about because puppies do. Now guys, what I wanted to discuss in this video is because there are many different types of diagnostic criteria for autism in terms of, like, you can get autism spectrum disorder level 1, level 2, level 3, Asperger's syndrome, which is not really used that often anymore, but also there's ADHD, OCD, there's very different bits within that, and it all becomes quite confusing. Now, some of the levels actually are failing us because the level model of saying 1, 2, or 3 doesn't actually fit everybody. And what this means is a level 1 autistic individual could be someone who was displaying things like they hold down a job, they have a relationship, they don't struggle with many difficulties, but they do have social interaction impairments and they qualify for autism spectrum disorder diagnosis, right? However, the diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorder level 2 would be somebody who has a bit more higher support needs. They're still able to converse, talk, verbally explain themselves. The problem they have is that they also have higher needs where they may not be able to use social communication that well. They may be having difficulties in, they may have to take medication. They may have other comorbid, like co-occurrent alongside autism, could have other issues and mental health issues. And so we categorize autistic individuals' diagnosis into those 3 spots. So level 3 would be someone who, verbally non-communicative, struggles intensely with executive dysfunction. Maybe they don't know how to go to the bathroom on their own. Maybe they need 24-hour support, supervision, high medication for a comorbid and other co-occurring diseases or issues. Now, the other thing to think about here, and this is why I think these levels are kind of failing us, especially doctors, what I think about this is that there are factions between that. You can have someone who displays traits of autism spectrum disorder level 1 and level 2, but doesn't really fit into each of those categories. So they'd be in the middle. And I have this with my stepson, he fits kind of in the middle there. And then you could have somebody who is like an autism spectrum disorder level 2 diagnosis, but they also are displaying really high needs, like a level 3 autism diagnosis, even though they don't have a diagnosis of level 3. So it's kind of somewhere in between the middle. What I found is that these levels are oversimplification of the diagnosis process. And I understand why, because we have to categorize people into some areas. But actually beyond that, we don't look at what implications are happening to that person. Like, one of the biggest struggles I have I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a level 1 diagnosis, but then I had a reevaluation and they said I had level 2 autism, right? When I had a autism evaluation, which is weird because then I'm somewhere between 1 and 2. Guys, I've been using an app to organize my life called Trustworthy, and it's an amazing app. Now, Trustworthy is an app that you can download that you can store your passwords, you can upload documents to it, legal documents to it, driver's licenses, have reminders, birthdays, everything you need. It's kind of like the family operating system, and I love it, right? Because it reminds me when people's birthdays are. It reminds me that I do have car insurance on it. I only have to buy it twice because my ADHD brain goes crazy. So if you're interested in checking out Trustworthy, go to the link in my bio and the description down below to check out Trustworthy. If I'm somewhere between 1 and 2, then where does that leave me? Simple things like this. One of the biggest struggles I have is OCD, but not routines and rituals. Like, autistic people love routines and rituals, right? But the OCD part of it kicks my butt. And so I know you relate to this. Like, if you guys have really bad OCD, let me know in the comments down below and say, Marla, I have OCD. That's what kind of really you think about it. You say, what's one of the biggest things that impairs you? Okay, we all know that we all struggle with social interactions, but hey, OCD also kicks my butt on a crazy level, right? And so this kind of goes into the other realms of the kind of like that mislabeling and misrepresentation when people don't know. Like, if they say, oh, I'm on autism spectrum disorder level 1, what on earth does that mean? People don't even know. People don't know what this means. Unless you're a clinical psychologist, you don't know what it means. So you say, I have autism. And when you say you have autism, people are like, oh, well, I don't understand how you like autism when I see level 3 autistics, And it's really interesting because then they say, people will say, oh, you're not high functioning, right? What is it? You're just masking or whatever. Now, look, there are hidden costs of appearing okay or normal to the outside world, right? And the costs involved with this are very simple. So Marla's taking a quick break. The costs involved are very, very simple. If someone thinks that you're normal or you're dealing okay, you get treated as if everything is fine and that you don't have additional accommodations, even though they don't understand what masking is. So it's again, above the levels. So when you have a level 1 autistic, level 2 autistic, and we're masking, or basically masking is kind of pretending to be a character that we can deal with a real life situation that would normally cause such distress in many other people, then the masking actually causes other people to just dismiss our needs and our additional help that we may need, right? And by saying this, a lot of people say, well, you're high functioning, but what the hell does that even mean? There is no, because we are low functioning in other areas, right? And those are kind of derogative terms that people don't really use that much anymore. But with emotional and physical tolls on an autistic person, masking is kind of one of the bad guys. Now, I talk about this a lot and how you can help overcoming the issues. Because think about this, right? Masking, if you're masking all the time and you suddenly stop masking, and people turn away from you, this may give you a negative impact of being your true self. And we all want to be our true self. Why wouldn't we want to be our true self? So you could be masking, and then somebody says to you, hey, you're different lately. And I'm stop masking or pretending to be somebody that I'm not just to fit in. I'm actually me. I'm who I am. And then a certain friend says, I'm out. You're not the person I thought you were. What the heck is going on? In this instance, in that protocol, that means that those people don't know who you are. And then you get to feel, oh no, now I shouldn't be who I am. And you forget who you are. This is terrible, and it diminishes confidence. Now, I talk about this exclusively in one of my programs, but if you want access to learning more about that specifically, if you just go to the link down in my bio, or if you go to the link in the description and download the Bulletproof Brain for Autistic Individuals PDF starter kit. There's a free download there which helps you to kind of like really build confidence from the inside out, which is why this happens, right? So you can definitely go check that out. And so we think about this, right? Think about it. Autism isn't basically a straight line. And it also is a spectrum, kind of. But it's not a spectrum like a rainbow. It's a spectrum like a speckles everywhere, right? Small speckles, big speckles. Imagine having, a semicircle on screen, and then you get paint on a paintbrush and you sprinkle it everywhere. There'll be big blobs, small blobs. This is autism spectrum. Sometimes it'll be big, sometimes it'll be small. Sometimes the user profile will be different. We are all individuals whilst being under the umbrella of being autistic, having a neurodivergent brain type. And I think this is fascinating because it covers all things, like, fluctuating support needs. Sometimes you could have someone who's hypersensitive to something and hyposensitive to other things, but in the same person. It's more complex. We keep simplifying autism when it's actually way more complex than we typically give it credit for, which is why I think that a lot of therapy and a lot of the support we have come from people who are clinical psychologists or professionals or not autistic individuals. Hence why I coach one-on-one, or I run programs on my website. Autism has many things that come with it, like sensory processing differences, executive dysfunction, executive function. Some autistic individuals could be great with mechanics or mathematics, but then terrible at making sandwiches. There are so many fractional different pieces within here, and we have to look at the autistic individual as an individual, right? And the neurodiversity, the levels of having neurodiversity could range, right? And so again, it is a spectrum, but it's a speckled spectrum. I'm going to try and paint this picture and put it on here. I'm not sure how I'll do it, but I will. And so if you just categorize everyone to those three pains, like 1, 2, and 3, you'll never understand how to support those people. What we should be doing is looking at the person individually and saying, okay, they have this diagnosis, which is your basic guideline of a level 1, level 2, and then saying, what are the 5 main support categories within this diagnostic criteria? That's going to change the game. Now, I want to hear from you guys. This is true. I want to know your thoughts on it. What are your opinions? Level 1, 2, and 3, are these old? Are they gone? What's the difference these days? I'm clueless. We need to re-look at the diagnostic ideas, the levels of autism, and really think about it. Faction those off. Make them more for the person. Comment down below. I want to check it, read it, and I'll respond to every single comment.